Magic fans, I'm Beef and welcome back to another standard gameplay video, this time featuring a white, black or Orzhov Blink style deck. And the main card is Nurturing Pixie, which is a new card from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. It's a 1 mana 1/1 with flying, and it has, when it ETBs, return up to one target non-fairy, non-land permanent you control as owner's hand. If a permanent was returned this way, put a +1/+1 counter on the Pixie. So you can't use this to bounce another Pixie, because that would be broken, but you can basically bounce any other non-land permanent. And we use this to basically rebuy powerful or at least annoying enter the battlefield triggers, such as from Hopeless Nightmare, a 1 mana enchantment. When it ETBs, each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. And when it is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you scry 2, and you can pay 3 to sacrifice it, which gets you that scry trigger. We also have Tithing Blade, a 2 mana artifact. Whenever it ETBs, each opponent sacrifices a creature, and then you can craft with a creature, which means you pay the cost, which is 4 generic and a black. Exile a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, and then exile the card and it returns transformed into Consuming Sepulchre. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. We also have Hostile Investigator, which is a 4 mana 4/3. When it ETBs, each opponent discards a card, or target opponent, discards a card. And when one or more players discard 1 or more cards, investigate, only triggers once each turn. And also, while Liliana doesn't have a ETB, you can use the Pixie to pick it back up and play it again to reset its loyalty. So it can essentially act as an additional Tithing Blade, essentially, but for 3 mana. Play it, -2, Nurturing Pixie, pick it up, play it, -2 again. We also have Guardian of Girapur, which does something similar. It's a 3 mana 3/3 with flying. When it ETBs, exile up to 1 other target creature or artifact you control, then return to battle under its owner's control at the beginning of your next end step. So again, we can blink Tithing Blade with this. We can blink Hostile Investigator. We can blink Nurturing Pixie itself, that when it comes down, it can then return another card. So quite powerful. And then rounding out the deck, 4 copies of Novice Inspector, a 1 mana 1/2. When it ETBs, to investigate. Something else we can rebuy with Nurturing Pixie. Less powerful, but it's still a potential card draw. 2 cut downs to kill target opposing creatures. 4 Insatiable Avarice, just a great draw spell. You can pay 3 mana, target player draws 3 cards and loses 3 life. You can pay another 2 to search a card, library for a card, put it on top so you know what you're drawing. Temporary Lockdown, 3 mana enchantment. Temporary Lockdown, ETBs, exile each non-land permanent mana value 2 or less. It is a bit of a numbo because we have quite a few things with mana value 2 or less, but this is more for the mono red and the Boros decks. And what would be quite powerful is you say play this, clear a few of their creatures out, and then they play more creatures. You Nurturing Pixie, pick this back up. They'll get all their creatures back, but then you just play it again. We also have Braids, 3 mana 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with that card. If each opponent doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. This is great with the clue tokens, or even Hopeless Nightmare, because you're going to get that scry trigger. Or even like Novice Inspector or a Nurturing Pixie, if you just want to see if they will sacrifice a creature. If not, you draw a card. Spoke about Liliana, and then finally Sheoldred, because it's a black deck. Sheoldred is just really powerful. 4 mana 4/5. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. Also a good combo of Insatiable Avarice, because essentially if they've got 11 life or less and you've got Sheoldred out, you can Insatiable Avarice them and they will die on their next turn. They draw 3 cards, so they lose 6 life from that, 2 for each card. They lose 3 life from Insatiable Avarice, that's 9, and then assuming it gets to their draw step and they haven't removed Sheoldred, they'll draw, that's 11. You know, if they've got 9 life or less is an insta-kill. 11 life is if it gets to their next turn. Mana base pretty standard. 2 copies of Aganju, 2 copies of Takenuma, just for some value. 4 plains, 4 swamps, 2 Caves of Kylos, 4 Concealed Courtyards and Shattered Sanctum, so 4 copies of the Quick and Slow lands, and then 2 copies of Restless Fortress if we just need a creature land to block or get in for some extra damage. And when the fortress attacks, defending player loses 2 life and gains 2 life, so you're always going to do damage and you're always going to gain some life. That's the deck. I hope you all enjoy it, and if you do, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in my gameplay. We have, well, an okay hand. We can Novice Inspector, and then even if we don't get anything on turn 2, we can crack the clue token, and then hopefully we draw an extra black source so we can Insatiable Avarice and draw some cards. We are going to need to draw Temporary Lockdown. That's a decent draw. Still looking for that third black source. A Nurturing Pixie to pick up the Tithing Blade would also be good. Quite like Braids. We can sacrifice the clue because we're going to draw a card from it anyway. There is the third black source. They've plotted the show off, so they might be able to get in for a big hit. I imagine they have a Play with Fire. Or a Monstrous Rage. Yeah. We're going to swing in. Taking 3 is not what we really want to be doing. So I'm just going to search for a card and search for Temporary Lockdown. At least we know we can play it next turn. And we will sacrifice the Inspector. They take the 2. See, they don't know what we've searched for and drew, but they know we've got it in hand. And if we survive, which is no guarantee at 12, we can Temporary Lockdown. Well, if they've got another, if they have another burn spell in hand, obviously we are basically dead, but at least we can clear their board. I won't attack just in case I have a Swift Spear, but I am going to sacrifice the Cage of Coilus. They do go down a land. Yeah, that's us dead, unfortunately. A close one. If we drew the lockdown a turn earlier, I think we would have been in much better shape. But against Mono Red, they are just a very quick deck. Well, we've got an okay hand. We can turn 1 cut down if a player creature, turn 2 Tithing Blade. They have mulliganed. So there's no point playing Tithing Blade. They've decided they don't particularly want to play anything, so I will just draw 3 cards then. That is not particularly impactful, but never mind. We'll discard a swamp and a plains. They have green mana. I imagine they've got removal. Yep. Well, let's get discarding.
No more distractions.
I don't think cut down's doing much.
We all have things we'd rather forget.
There goes the Wandering Emperor. I assume they had that. Another up the beanstalk. And a leyline binding.
Isn't how things were supposed to go.
Oh, I probably should have waited before playing that, but let's draw. Well, we can have a look for our library. What do we want? Let's get an investigator. Cause him to discard more. Temporary lockdown can clear out their up the beanstalks, which I don't mind doing. Stops them drawing cards. And we've got rid of a Sunfall. If the investigator survives, which it's not going to, there we go. Problem is with persistence, virtual persistence, we have no way to remove it. But at least we can make them sacrifice that. We'll draw with the clue, but they'll be able to play the virtue now. But at least we have ways to make them sacrifice whatever they play. Right, let's... We need, what, 5? We need... Let's sacrifice this so we can scry 2. Shouldered is a good draw. And then we will draw that now. Play out Hopeless Nightmare. Make them discard. And play out Shouldered. Yeah, that's not ideal, but we'll discard the Tithing Blade. we can play the Guardian and blink our Tithing Blade. But let's scry for now. Another Guardian's okay. The problem is they're going to just get back. Let's see what they do. We're both in top deck mode. We know they have sweepers. We've seen a Wandering Emperor, which is why I got the Shouldered back. Just so it came back untapped. Another Tithing Blade or a Nurturing Pixie. We do have another Guardian on top, so we can blink our Tithing Blade. Girapor can get in the air. I'm surprised they didn't cycle that. And another Guardian means that we'll have 6 power in the air, which if they're not removed, we'll be able to get through them in a couple of turns. Let's clue, see what we draw. Well, we'll play the Guardian. What we'll do is we'll cycle the Takanuma. And see what we can get back.
This conflict is pointless.
Obviously they can just get back the Harvester with the Virtue. They can destroy our temporary lockdown, which means they get back their up the beanstalks, or they can get back our Tithing Blade. That whiffed their virtue then. I wouldn't mind drawing a Nurturing Pixie. Well, I say just so I could bounce my temporary lockdown, but they're killing themselves, really. We have Leaflet in the air, but we know they have sweepers. Oh, now we don't have Leaflet in the air. But it doesn't matter. Up the beanstalk when your opponent has shouldered is a bit of a bad time, as we saw there. And maybe they thought they would have gained the life before they died. But they didn't. So a really good result after a long grindy game. Oh, we can... Well, that's a lot of Sheldrids. We need one black mana, and I think we're fine. But we can Hopeless Nightmare. So I think this is the mono blue buff artifact deck with Zoetic Glyph and Unctus. You can turn their artifacts into 4/4s or 5/4s. There's ninjutsu as well. Copies of Cut Down and Tithing Knife would be good. Well, there's Cut Down. I think annoyingly we're going to have to keep that up as opposed to Insatiable Avarice. Temporary Lockdown again would be a very good draw. Do they have a counter? They have a removal spell. And they can just ninjutsu it in. I think this game's... Unless we draw Temporary Lockdown, I think this game's beyond us, really. Let's see what we draw. Maybe a Cut Down. Horror Bike having yeah, we were just far too slow there. Probably shouldn't have kept a hand with 3 Sheldrids in it, but oh well. Well, hopefully Cut Down can hit something, although it hasn't recently. We also haven't seen a Nurturing Pixie in a while. Up against a blue-green deck. At least we hit something with cut down, which was a nice change. We'll play out the braids, sacrifice the if it okay. Do they have a counter spell now? They do not. Tithing Blade is what we really need now. Maybe we can draw into it with Avarice. Well, actually, we can't because... Well, let's draw a card just in case. I don't know why they scooped there. They really didn't need to. They were in a much better position than we were. But, oh well, you know, good result for us in the end. Well, I think something's gone wrong here. There we go. Well, we have a Tithing Blade and a Novice Inspector, so we do have a turn 1 and 2 play, assuming they play a creature. But we do seem to be drawn against more control decks. Which is not what our deck does. But if we get a third mana, we can Guardian Nagirapur to blink a Tithing Blade. Assuming our opponent is here. There did seem to be a technical issue at the start of the game. They're here. There we go. Mono red. Or maybe Boros. At which point temporary lockdown would be really good. We'll just crack the clue. It does seem to be mono red, it's just quite slow. Well, let's get them discarding. At least next turn we can play 2 Tithing Blades. Like, do they not draw any creatures at all? We'll get another swamp. Well, a third Tithing Blade's okay. We'll play Braids and then we'll just sacrifice the Hopeless Nightmare. Draw a card. Don't need another land, but I will take the other Hopeless Nightmare. Let's swing in. Sure, why not? Reset their board. Sacrifice the Hopeless Nightmare. Avarice is always fun. Well, I don't mind pitching a land.
I'm tired of your secrets.
So it is technically a clock. It's not a very fast clock. Do they have a burn spell? They do. Fair enough.
Delay, nothing more.
See, they haven't got anything to discard. I'll keep the Arganjo just in case they do have a hasty threat. Yeah, well, we had lethal. Play one of our Tithing Blades, they sacrifice Urabrask. For a dragon deck, they didn't play a single dragon. And we know they're dragon deck because they played Cavernous Souls on dragon. So I don't know if they drew really badly or their deck just wasn't built very well. But either way, a good result for us. Well, we have the Nurturing Pixie, Hopeless Nightmare, Tithing Blade combo. So we will keep this. We do need more land, especially black. There's one of them. So we'll play the Nightmare. Calls them to discard. And what we'll do is we'll play the Pixie. Pick up the Nightmare. Play the Nightmare again. Fair enough. We do have a 2-2 out of it though. All the Spyglass Sirens. I don't mind trading. Next turn we can get down Sheoldred. Assuming they tap out, which they have. Now, if Sheoldred survives and we draw untapped Black Source, okay, now we can't kill them, but... And now we almost definitely can't kill them. Temporary Lockdown would be good. I wouldn't have taken Braids if I were them, but... But they have another one. Temporary Lockdown would be really good. Sometimes the magic gods love you. Yes. And while we took out a few of our creatures... in theory, we probably should have attacked first. Basically clearing their board apart from Gix, who can't attack through Sheoldred. That was just a complete blowout, really. A good result. Well, we can Nightmare to get them to discard Tithing Blade and then Guardian of Girapur to blink the Tithing Blade. Which I think is going to be needed, so we seem to be getting the mono red. This card's usually pretty good against mono red as well. I'm fine with that, because that now we can get back our, well, blink our Tithing Blade, and get back the Guardian of Girapur, so next turn we can do it again. We are at 6. They do have 2 cards in hand. Let's get back at Nurturing Pixie. See if they have a lightning strike. We are dead. They are going to get a lot of treasures, but and we can scry with the Nightmare. Play of Fire is not great. Let's scry, see what we've got coming up. Nope on both of those. We'll get it down. I'm going to transform this because if we survive for an extra turn, this will start gaining us life. But obviously, that is a big if.
Nobody knows Dominaria's shadows like me. Drop it.
We need a block of a Mishra's Foundry. Or a cut down maybe. Cut down I'll take. Where are they pointing that? At face? I'm going to play it just so that next turn I can craft, so that way we gain two a turn. Oh. That's so annoying. Yeah, we were so close there to getting back out of it. If we were gaining 2 a turn, we would have got there. But, well, that was just bad luck, I think. Although they did flood out quite a bit, so maybe we had some good luck there. Hello, Magic fans, and welcome back to the wrap-up. So we played 15 games with this deck with a 60% win rate, which is pretty good. And I really like this deck because it's different. It's not an aggro deck. It's not really a full-out control deck. It is an annoying deck to play against. But it does something that not many other decks do. And when you've got the right cards, it's really powerful. I think in one of the games we played, we literally Hopeless Nightmare turn 1 causes the opponent to discard. Nurturing Pixie turn 2 to pick up the Hopeless Nightmare, then Hopeless Nightmare straight away to make him discard 2. When you get that, or when you can play the Tithing Blade, get it back, play it again to basically clear their board or take out a couple of creatures, it's really powerful. It does fall down against control decks because obviously control decks don't often have a lot of creatures, and seeing most of our deck is based around getting that value from making them sacrifice creatures with the Tithing Blade or with Liliana. It can do something against control if you have that Hopeless Nightmare combo that's getting them back. And then if you can, craft a Tithing Blade, so every turn you're gaining a life and they're losing a life, you can win that way, but it is a lot less likely. And you see the one game we played against Blue-White Control, we lost. We had a 50% game against Mono Blue, and I think they were both the ninjutsu and power up your artifact combo, so it is an aggro deck. We had a 50% win rate against Mono Red. I think there was one game where we were so close to stabilising. We just crafted our second other side of Tithing Blade, so we're going to be gaining 2 life a turn. But I think they just had the burn spell. And then, pretty good record against everything else. 50% against Demir. So, a good deck, a fun deck, a pretty simple deck as well, but powerful when you get the right cards. And as I said, it's just different, and that's what I kind of enjoyed about it. It's not something you see every day in the meta at all. So I had a lot of fun. I hope you all did as well. And if you did, please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.